we saw the whole flow, like from the like beginning, like creating the quote, adding the parts, applying some pricing, applying discounts, submitting for approval. If there are any approvals, so we need to approve them. Otherwise, the quote will get automatically submitted, like that. So as we discussed, like these actions, according to like one particular business, they might be triggered from outside CPQ as well. Like whatever the customer is there, so he might be having some partners, so their partners might be having some other different, their own specific UIs or their own specific websites or tools. So from that like from that tool or some website, so they will trigger, they will do whatever they want. They configure, they add parts, they apply discounts, everything. So they will just enter values whatever they want, but they don't have all this mechanism, the pricing, discounts, approvals, and everything. So they just can trigger from their tool, and then using some other like web services integrations, so they will send the data to this CPQ tool. So here, once it is once the data got arrived, based on what the action they want to perform, what the like request they want to perform, so here in the backend, that respective logic will trigger. Either it can be a creation of code, either it can be applying a discount, it can be like submitting for approvals, anything. So like there will be a right now, for example, in my project, whatever the project I'm working in, so we have the CPQ instance, we have a like Salesforce instance. So they will be integrating the data from CPQ to Salesforce, and vice versa. And they have whatever the vendor we have, so they have a partner which will be dealing all these things from a different tool. So they will be having some their own specific UI. So what they will do is they will enter values, add parts, they will give enter discounts, everything. But they won't visit either Salesforce or our CPQ tool to input data or something like that. So they from their system, what they will do is after entering the values, they will generate a request. That request will trigger a code creation or whatever the action, whatever the required action they want. So that will trigger at the backend of our CPQ tool. So then it automatically do how we generally manually create a code and everything. How we manually do that will get triggered at the backend, and it automatically creates code and do all the actions whatever they request. So for that, we can have an example of triggering the request through Postman. So this is our transaction manager. We have some list of codes here. So let's create a sample transaction and see the transaction ID. So here it is T46. Okay, I'm saving this transaction. So if we observe the transaction manager now, the latest code will be T46. Yeah. So we have up to T46 codes. So whatever all the actions we perform, we can trigger from the Postman. So let me open Postman. And they won't use this Postman again. So whatever the request we are trying to execute from here, it's just the like whatever the logic, how they prepare some data and how they will trigger. It's just a demonstration kind of thing. But whatever the UI they use, So at the backend, they will be having some other mechanism, and they will request, they will trigger the request in through the some other tool or some other mechanism. So there will be a base URL to okay. Let me create a collection first. So just created a collection. Let's add a request. So this is one request we are going to create now. Okay, before okay, this request. So when we are using the CPQ tool, so we are having some access, right? We are using some credentials. With that credentials, we are logging in, we are doing everything. So similarly, if you want to trigger a request and that you are expecting some response and something should be happen in the CPQ side, we need to give credentials, right? So in the collection, let's give the credentials. So in the authorization, let's select basic auth. So here, let's give our credentials. These are the credentials what we are using when we log in to the CPQ tool, right? So that I'm giving in the Postman. So I gave to the collection. I'm opening the request. Here, like we can give credentials at the collection level or at the each request level. So if we give at the collection level, there will be a default option here for each request, inherit authentication from parent. So automatically our credentials will get here. So the request what we are going to perform is post request. So now we need to say what it should do and where it should do. So where it should do will be our end point URI. So here we need to give the address where something needs to be performed, and in the body, what we'll do is so what it should do, we will say in the body. So here we use JSON format. So there will be a syntax in like CPQ help document. We can see that. So I'm selecting raw code and JSON type. So here, whatever the information we want to send, so we can add it in the JSON script format. And how we will get the URL is there will be a base URL. So if you see this, so this is the base URL. So right now, what our task is to add a transaction, right? To create a transaction. So transaction is dealt with commerce module. So this is the base URL for that. Um, so after entering the base URL, we need to enter whatever the right now we are creating a transaction. In our CPQ tool, we have multiple processes and multiple subdocuments, right? So when we say the base URL after till the commerce, so we need to tell which process it needs to select and which document it needs to select, main document. So after the base URL, you need to enter your process variable name and main document variable name. So main doc, okay. I'm opening the admin page. I'm just navigating to my process. Yeah, this is my process. Instead of clicking the documents list, I am just opening this hyperlink itself so that I can see its variable name. So here I can see process name and its variable name. So I need to select it. So this is my process name, and I need to add the main document variable name as well, right? So now I have documents, main document and subdocument. So I'm opening the main document hyperlink itself instead of opening this attributes or any option in list. So in that hyperlink, if I click on the main document, I can see its variable name. So this is my process variable name and this is my main document variable name. And so I can concatenate them and I can add it. And one more thing is when we are adding this uh, process variable name and main document variable name, we need to make the first letter as capital. So I'm changing it to first letter as capital. And I'm concatenating it. So I added it here. So now once we reach the main document section, so now we need to create the transaction, right? So we need to tell what action, what it should do. So we can do something in commerce through everything with the help of actions, right? So to do anything, to modify anything, everything, we need actions. It can be a commerce level action or it can be a process level process level action. So process level, and here after this we gave process variable name and main document variable name, right? Here transaction ID is optional. So why we need transaction ID is if you already created a code, so for that code, if you want to do something, you need to enter transaction ID. Otherwise, if you want to go to create a new transaction or code, so you don't need to give this transaction ID. So that's why this is optional. So the final thing is what we need to do. So then we need to give the action variable name. So whatever the action you want to perform, so you need to give the action variable name. So right now here, after this action, to create a transaction, this is the action. So action variable name of creating a new transaction, underscore new underscore transaction. So actions is the syntax or format. So actions slash which action you need to perform, you need to tell. So this will suffice the URL. So let's save it. So this is a request we are adding to create a transaction in CPQ, right? So let's save it and trigger the request. We can see at the bottom the status is 200. Okay, that means it got performed and we got some response as well. So here the main thing we want is this number, transaction number underscore q. So this is the transaction number. So if you remember, so while we are debugging, so if you want to import data from the transaction, so there is one unique number we created and kept on the UI, right? So that's the transaction number. So whatever this response is having, everything related to the transaction what it got created just now. So basing on this transaction ID, we can identify which quote it got created, and it's also saying T47. You can say transaction quote ID. It's T47. So let's leave it like that and just open the transaction manager. So I just opened the transaction manager. I can see still it is T46. Let's refresh it for confirmation. So even though it is refreshed, still it is showing T46. Why? Because so earlier when we created a transaction, if you observe, so we created a transaction, but we can see nothing in the transaction manager. Why? Because we need to perform at least one modified type of action on it, so that some step transition can be happened on it. So that's why what we need to do is, while we are creating a transaction, so we need to tell it, we need to also mention after creating a transaction what it should do. So let's perform a step transition through the help of a modify type of action. So to include an action here, to trigger an action here, we have sorry. So as we are discussing, we just created a transaction, but it didn't got saved in the transaction manager. So when we in the beginning, when we created a transaction, we also came across the same thing, because we created a transaction, but it didn't happen any step transition on it. So that's why we can't see the transaction in the transaction manager. So let's perform action. So we have save action, right? Go to the, okay, I need to open my process. My process. Main document, actions, list of actions, save. This is the save action. So I'm copying this variable name, save, so that I pasted it here. So this is the action I'm going to perform here now. So let's save this request. So now let's perform this uh, request again. So earlier we performed the same request, but it generated some transaction ID, and transaction quote ID is T47. So let's perform this request again.
Karthik?
Yeah, sorry.
Karthik, question Karthik. I'm surprised, Karthik, in that URL, you are still mentioning it as a new transaction, right? In the URL. So, which means it will go to the new transaction. And in the body, you are passing it as modify action as save. So, technically, you are doing two actions over there. One in the URL, you are saying new transaction action, but in the body, you are saying modify action as save.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. So I let me clear that. So we are giving some URL, right? So in that URL, what we are giving it, we are giving the base path, commerce documents, so which process it should select, which main document, and what is the action it should do. Okay. So now in the URL, what we are saying, we just want to create a new transaction. So that's fine. So if you see, as we didn't perform the request yet, okay, we performed the request, right? Sorry. Let's do one thing. I'll clear this. Okay. So let's save it. Now I'll trigger this action again. Send.
so you will
I
have
have
one more,
nothing.
yeah, you will have one more transaction now, which is a T49, hopefully, new transaction.
Sorry.
If you press that send one more time right now, you will create one
It will.
more action, right? Yeah, one more
Yeah.
transaction.
Yes. So I'm clicking send.
Yeah, which is
It is
T49.
T47.
T48, yeah.
Earlier it is T47, right?
Yes, yeah.
create a transaction and it is showing all the transaction details as well. If you see in the response.
Yeah.
This is the transaction got created and it's showing details.
Mhm.
Now it means indirectly a transaction got created in the CPQ.
Yeah.
If you observe the transaction manager, this is the transaction manager. I'm simply clicking refresh here. Yeah. So it is still 246. We performed 2 requests from the postman. So
Yeah.
P47 and P40. We are
Yeah.
unable to see those questions in the transaction manager. Why?
Yeah.
Because earlier in the beginning sessions of creating a code, so we also created a code, but when we open the transaction manager, we saw nothing. So then what we did, we went to the steps, we created a step, we added an action, we created a self transaction rule of self transaction. So then we performed the creating code again. That means a transaction can be created, but it to be seen in the transaction manager, at least one step transaction needs to be performed. Earlier we created steps. Why? Because we created a start step, we created a self transaction rule, we performed the save. So then the transaction got saved and we are able to see it. So if you want to get clarified that, so once you get time, so what you do is create a process, create a transaction. Okay, open your transaction manager, you won't see it because by creating the transaction manager, it won't perform any step transaction. So when you explicitly perform any modified type of action, and if you have some step transaction on it, then only it get performed. So for a transaction to be saved on a transaction manager, at least one step transaction should be required. So that's the reason it's not getting created in the, it's not getting stored in the transaction manager. So once we
Okay.
create a transaction, at the same time, in that request only, if we perform save action, what it will do is it creates a transaction. On the transaction, it will perform save action as well. So on that save action, a step transaction will be performed and it will save and it will save the record in the transaction manager. So that's the reason. So if you want to like clear this, why we are adding this another action, so simply create a process, create a transaction, create a transaction manager. Don't add any action on it. Don't add any step transaction. Just click new transaction. It will create a transaction and it will open you. But if you close the tab and if you go to the transaction manager again, whatever the transaction is, that required you can't see in the transaction manager. Then you will realize this scenario. So we just created a transaction, but it won't show up. So that's the reason we are adding. We are also insisting it to perform some modified type of, which we already know it has some step transition on it. So am I clear or confusing? So you can try that with new process. You will
So,
understand.
so basically,
Yeah.
from my point of view, Karthik, I can see the
Yeah.
URL, Karthik. I can understand the URL, but in the
Yeah.
URL, you are saying it's a post call. Over there,
Yeah.
you are without the body, it is creating a new transaction, which is good. But now you are
Yeah.
saying you want to add something in the body and any
Yeah.
step, some step, which will save that transaction. So if you enter
Yes.
something in the body and then just press
Yeah.
send, which means you are hitting the same URL, right, Karthik, again with the new transaction. So let's say Karthik, you want to enter something in the body. Let's enter something, Karthik, that you mentioned, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
enter something in the body. I mean that you mentioned, right? Some step. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you press send right now, so at that point of time, you want to create a new transaction. I think so, but I don't know how this thing will work honestly. So just go ahead, Karthik. I'm listening.
Okay. So yeah, I added one more instruction to perform the save action. So now I'll save this request and I guess we can see the number here, T48. So now it's going to be T49 now. So let's perform this action. So we got the status okay. So now it is showing a new transaction number along with the transaction ID is T49. So that means now it got created a new code. Earlier also it got created a new code. So let's go back to the transaction manager. Let's refresh it. now you saw T49 here. So this is the same scenario which we can replicate in the CPQ itself. So that's how why I am saying that is just create a transaction, create a process, create a transaction, perform new transaction action. So just visit your respective process manager, process transaction manager. You won't find the transaction record. After creating steps, after performing one step transition, then only you will see the record in the transaction manager. For a transaction to be saved, at least one step transition is mandatory. So that we have on this save action. This is for creating a transaction, that's fine. But to see the transaction, there is a default condition in the tool. You need to perform at least one step transition, then only your transaction will be saved in the transaction records, nothing but transaction manager. So for that sake, we are adding this action. This is the general thing. So if we don't accept this, so we can simply ignore this, and we can create same scenario in the CPQ tool. Then also you will find the same. So after creating transaction, so you will be here. This is different UI, right? So we are away from the CPQ tool. When we create a send transaction, new transaction request, it got created in the CPQ. Also it will get created. When you click new transaction, it will open a new see. I'm in the CPQ tool. I'm just clicking a new transaction here. Yeah, it got opened me a new transaction in the CPQ as well. Similarly, in the Postman also, when we click new transaction, it will create a transaction. That's fine. But when we create new transaction in the CPQ, we are performing some save action. Okay. So I just created a new transaction right here. I'll say T50, right? What I'll do is I'll open, I won't perform any modify type of action. I will open my transaction manager again directly. Here you can see it's still T49, but it got created a new transaction T50. Now, if we create a new transaction here, what it should be T51. That means a new transaction is created before itself, but no step transition has happened. That's why it won't save the record. So now see, I'm performing new transaction and I'll apply some modify action. Let's see after T49 what will come. I created a transaction. So now our number is T51. I'm performing save. And then I'll open my transaction manager again. On save, we have step transition. Yeah, I opened the transaction manager again. So now you can see after T49, T51 is the transaction. Right now, what the just we created it. Before that, we created T50, but we didn't perform any step transition. That's the reason it won't create. Similarly, here also.
So in that case, Karthik, are those 50 and 47 and 48 transactions, are they going to stay in the system or are they going to delete? What will happen for them? Like you, so technically we have the transactions 47, 48 and 50. But now they are showing up in the transaction manager. So do you mean that are they going to live in the system in the background or are they going to remove them by default? So what will happen?
Yeah. That I never tried. Question. So let's try that. So what we'll do is, so I'll remove save action. Okay. Okay. Now I'm saving it. So what this should do? This should create a new transaction. Okay.
Yeah.
What we'll do is, I'm clicking the send. Okay.
So 52 now it is 52. Okay.
T52 got created. Okay. I'm copying this transaction number. Okay.
Okay.
So I copied the transaction number. Before I perform one more action. So let's, where is this? Yeah. So I'll refreshing this transaction manager. Okay.
Okay.
T52 shouldn't come here, right?
Yeah. Yes.
This is T52. Yeah. It's not there.
Okay.
So let's see. So now so far transaction got created and it forgot. Like we are not sure. It was left unopened. Okay. I never observed this. So let's do that. So earlier I told you that after main document, so if it's a new transaction, we won't. So this is a process action, right? So we won't create a
Yes.
transaction ID. So
Yes.
if you want any action on the existing transaction, we need to give transaction ID. So
Okay.
I'll paste transaction number here. Okay. So I don't want. I will do create one more request. Okay. I'll say it as save the transaction. Okay. So this is my body. Yeah, I'll paste the transaction number here, and my action is going to be save. So as we didn't perform anything, so as per our dot, it should be existing somewhere, or it won't be existing somewhere. If it got existed, as we have the transaction ID, so it can perform on the record, right? So that we'll do now.
Yeah.
We don't have T52 yet. I'll refresh one more once again to confirm. Yeah, T52 is not there still. So now we'll perform using the transaction number what it got created in the past.
Okay.
Performing. I never did this. So
Okay.
yeah, it's working, looks like. So okay, we can cross it. See, it is the transaction number still it's same. So that means it applies something on the same transaction. So let's refresh now. We should be able to see T52. Yeah, it's coming.
Okay.
So whatever it got created and left unopened, so it is still preserving in the system. But yeah, it is not showing it up. That's it.
Okay. So even though Karthik, even like if I'm creating a transaction in the CPQ itself, not from some third party, but I didn't perform any save action. So what will happen, Karthik? Are they going to stay in the system, or
No,
are they going to remove?
It will stay in the system.
So till how long, Karthik? Because since we didn't save it, the transaction, unfortunately, but in the background it will stay there. So are they going to keep them as long as they are there, but are they going to remove them?
No, being frank, I don't have answer to that. I'll check and I'll get back to you guys. Yeah,
Okay.
even this I tried now only. So whatever that missing record or unopened record, it's still there.
Okay.
So for me also. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And I guess wherever whether we perform from Postman or from the CPQ tool, it doesn't matter, I guess, because when we click send here, this request automatically going to CPQ and it's making to perform this new transaction action only. So I guess whatever this we create new transaction here and we left it unopened. So those should also be there. But how long it will be there, I'm not sure. I need to check. Yeah. So yeah, that's how we create a transaction. So after that, let's try adding a part. Let's create one more request. Add parts. So we just saw, right? If you want to do any modification to the existing transaction, we need to use the transaction number. So similarly, add parts is nothing but already some transaction is there. For that quote or transaction, we are adding some parts. So let's open T52 in the CPQ. So there will be no parts here. So we can see the subdocument section is empty. Let's copy this transaction number. So in the adds parts request, we'll update the transaction number. It's the same thing. So after adding parts, what we'll do is we'll perform the save action. So we need to tell what parts it should add. So for that, there will be a syntax. In the CPQ itself, just click help here. You'll be having a section. So the last section you can see on the left side in the help section, help services. Sorry guys. So now you can see rest here. In this request body objects, select the first option, request body syntax. Here you can see like the basic syntaxes they gave. So you can see this one. So this is the area. I mean, this is the syntax to add anything like parts related information. If you want to add a part, if you want to like modify a existing part related information like that. So let's use this. And put it in the notepad. So everything this should be enclosed in the main section. So main section is always documents. This is representing whatever this documents is there. This is representing the main document. Irrespective of the main document variable name, it's always the like default or static keyword, fixed keyword documents. But if you see the next one, the subdocument, this is representing a subdocument. This is not line item always. This is just the process, sorry, subdocument variable name. So where we can find it directly. I'm opening the process again. Yeah, here we have subdocument, right? I'm opening the new tab. Here we can see subdocument variable name. Copy. Yeah, let's override it. So this is the subdocument variable name. So everything else is the same. And this is are the system attributes. So part number, price book variable name. Price book variable name is nothing but it's the set of prices what we have for a particular part. It's a default thing in the system. So generally what like people will have is they will be having different businesses, like I mean different scenarios based on country. So if you want to sell a part in some country, India, so it will be having one price. If it's so we generally observe, right? So we buy a milk packet or toothpaste something. So on that packet we will see like this 25 rupees is only in the circle of Andhra Pradesh or in the circle of Telangana or in the circle of India or Union Territories or something like that. So like that, so we can define some for the same part we can have multiple prices using price books. So this will be by default price book variable name. This will be a system variable default price book. And this price quantity is the we at the time of creation of line item grid we saw, right, line level attributes, we created a part set attribute set. Instead of creating our own attributes, we created a part attribute set. Similarly, there is one thing called price attribute set. If you remember, while creating a part attribute set, by mistake I added a price attribute set, right? That is the one. So in that also there will be having some system attributes regarding the part. What is the quantity, what is the discount, what is the override discount, like that, few attributes. So we are not using that on the, you are right, so we are using something called quantity what we created. So let's replace this. Let's open some other transaction so that we can see the variable name. Sorry, looks like I opened something else. Let me cross. Yeah, this one. Let's open this. It is also not having. Just I'm trying to open a transaction manager. Quote which is having parts already, so that we can see the variable name. Otherwise, what we can do is we need to navigate to the process main document, subdocument attributes, and its variable name. Uh, let's do that directly. I don't know in which transaction we have parts. Else, yeah, let's do one more thing. We can add part and we can see the variable name simply. Yes, part one. So I'm performing save here. So I can inspect element and see the variable name here. For quantity, it is yeah. Here you can see this one. I'm copying it. Quantity underscore L. This is the variable name for this attribute. So I'm using it. Quantity as I'll give it as 5. And part we don't have this. Is whatever we added. We just need to create them. I mean, we just need to add it. This is the part number I remember, so I'm just typing it. So we just created the structure main document, subdocument, and its items. Items are nothing but whatever the parts we are going to send. Part number, this is the one, and quantity we mentioned. Price book is the default. We should send it. So it's the default price book option. And let's, if you want to add one more part, you can copy this. Put comma. We have two parts, right? Let's add those two as well. I'll say quantity as 10. So this is the like request body for the add parts request, and we just added messed up this existing transaction, right? It's okay. So what we'll do is, so we added one part, right, already. So this is T46, remember it. I'm copying this transaction number. I will use this in my request, add parts request. So it is 884 earlier. I'm overriding it to 843. So I updated the URL. So now I need to paste my body. This one. Oh, looks like I missed something. Okay, sorry. Everything should be enclosed in the flower brushes. Let's do it here. I'm saving it. So this is T46 related transaction number, right? Just I'm clicking send action. Oh, looks like we missed something. Mm. Okay, so right now why it is saying is right now we are adding a part, right? So it's a new part for a transaction. So at the time of adding a part itself, that means we can't add, we can't modify its parts related information. So right now this quantity underscore L is parts related information, right? This part is about to get created, and this is that parts related quantity, as this is the what this is the attribute, line level attribute what we created, custom attribute, right? So that's why it is not accepting these values. Let's skip this. And adding it one more, again. So now we got succeeded. So we can see the response. Let's open this transaction. It is T46. We can see it. So This is T46, right? Let's refresh this. So now you can see 2 parts got added. Ignore this as we modified something, so we need to open the code freshly. So you can see earlier for testing to see the variable name, we added 1 part. So but with the postman request, we added these 2 parts, right? So that's why it is like it got added. And the one more thing is we can add same part multiple times. It is possible. Let me open the transaction manager again. T46. Yeah, now we didn't get any error. So we can see the transaction manager. Sorry, we can see the parts, right? So now we need to update the quantity. So what we'll do is we'll create duplicate. I'll rename it as update parts. So when we are updating a part related information, we need to remember one thing. So we need to provide a mandatory field, nothing but document number. Underscore document underscore number is its variable name. So document number is the system attribute which we got created. So if you observe in the logics what we created so far, we used that underscore document underscore number to decide which part we need to apply the logic, which row. So for that, here also the same thing it's required. We need to use underscore document underscore number. So what we'll do is, okay, before deciding to which part we need to set the quantity. 1 second. So I'm removing everything. So now I need to insert quantity, right? Quantity underscore L. I need to give it as 1. Okay. So for which part it will assign this quantity, that we need to decide, right? So simply let's go to the add parts. If you don't have access to the CPQ, like for the people who are performing this from the some other way, some other area, so for them it is useful. So if you observe the request, so we can find it here for easiness. So I'm copying this response, I'm pasting it in the notepad. So let's find document underscore number. So here I can see multiple occurrences. Last document number, it has some different parts, right? Which is the last document number it is saying in the response. Document number 1. This is a quote related information. As we know, for quote always the document number is 1. For lines only, from 2 it will keep on increasing. So document number 2. So if you observe the document number 2, this is the first part. Just scroll up in the same block. So you can see its part name, test part 1. So similarly, document number 3, its part name will be there. Document number 4. So like that, we can see which part is having which document number. So I'll say document number 4. Okay, I'll see the part number. The part number is test part 2. Okay, we know test part 2 is the part number. So here we have 3 parts: part 1, part 2, part 1, part 1, and part 2. So this is having document number 4. I am setting quantity to here, right? So in my request, this is add parts, right? Update parts. This is opening. So here I will use document number 4. If you have multiple values, you need to differentiate with comma. Sorry, guys. So as I just want to update only that document number, I'll remove everything. I'll save this request. Okay, let's cross check. Let's refresh this. So this is the code, right? So we have everything as empty quantity. I'm taking the transaction number. This is update parts info request in my postman. So I'm updating the like transaction number. I'm saving it. For the document number 4, I'm sending the quantity as 1. Status is 200. Okay, we got some response as well. So let's go to the CPQ and let's refresh it. Sorry, I was on mute. So we can see the quantity now. We can see the quantity as 1 now. For others, it's empty because we didn't send anything. So this is the text part 2, which is having document number as 4. So that's why it's triggered it. So let's add quantity for all the parts. I just give different quantities for all the parts 2, 3, 4. And one more important thing is whenever you create this request for to update the line info, so it's better to use always check in the response. So what is the transaction number for your part? Because if you create a part and if you delete it on the transaction, so for the first part it's assigned 2, right? So if you delete it and if you add a new part, it's going to be document number 3, because the document number it won't reutilize the old ones. It will keep on generating the new ones. So that's the reason it's always better to check the document number, which is the part. Yeah, so yeah, let me send this request. See, yeah, the status is okay. Let's update this transaction. So we got the new price, sorry, new quantities 1, 5, 10, whatever we entered. So it's showing 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 4 document numbers 1, 5, 10. So it came up. So once we added quantity, what is our general scenario? We need to perform the we need to calculate extended price. So where we have that in the update pricing action. So we need to perform this action. So let's create one more request. So update pricing is one more request. So I just need to perform update pricing action because everything data is everything related to data is already there. So what I will do is I'll just remove all my data. I don't need to send any data because I just need to perform that action. And we need to make sure we need to change the action name. So what is the action? Update pricing, right? Update pricing. As I just remember the action names, I'm just typing directly. So let's cross check the transaction number as well. I'm copying it, I'm pasting it here. Okay, I'm saving it. So now I'm performing update pricing request. I'm clicking send. It got succeeded. Let's refresh the CPQ code. So now we can see extended price got populated. Earlier it's not there, right? So through the like postman, we performed this update pricing action. So now after pricing, we need to apply discounts, right? So for discounts, user need to enter discount here. But for the UI is not there, right? So they won't enter, they can't enter on the UI. So what we need to do, we already have something related to modify any information related to the part. So we'll use that. So what we'll do is we'll use the same document numbers here. Let's task is now it's different. It's discount underscore L. As I remember, I'm just saying. So we'll modify that field. $10, $25, $50. I'm saving this request. So now it should update the discount field for all these parts with this discounts like $10, $25, $50. I'm triggering the request again. It's still the same transaction number if you observe in the URL. So that's why I didn't updated it. Status, we got the status okay. Let's update the transaction. If you see, we got the discounts got applied. Sorry, user entered the discounts as well to update the with this update parts info request. So now what we need to do in the general flow, we need to apply discounts. Whatever the user entered discounts are there, so we need to perform this apply discounts action. So let's simply perform it. Duplicate, rename, apply discounts. So we don't need to enter anything in the body. We just need to perform that action, right? So let's change that action name. I'm triggering the request. So we got it succeeded. Let's refresh the transaction. So if you see the final price, it's not there, right? So now I'm refreshing it. Now we can see the final prices as well, basing on the discounts entered by the user. So we got the final prices. So now everything is done. We need to submit the code for approvals. Simply I'm renaming it to submit. So we just don't need to send any information, right? We just need to perform that action. Let's modify the action variable name. Submit. I'm clicking save. So now I'm sending the request. It's still the same transaction number. So you can see some error. So what is the error? It is saying could not perform action submit. Validation errors exist on the following one attribute discount. Let's go to the transaction. So if you observe, we have validations defined on the discount attribute. So what is this validation? It shouldn't exceed max discount, and if it is not related to the approvals, then we should restrict that. So out of this, which is not related to approvals, the last one. For the last one, max discount is 25, but we gave 50%. So that's the reason it is triggering validation rule. So let's update the parts info. I'll simply say instead of 50, I'll rename. I'm updating it to 5. I'm saving this. I'm sending the request again. it succeeded. Let's refresh the transaction. So we saw the new discounts 10, 25 are same. Instead of 50, we got 5 here. So after applying discounts, what we need to do? We need to perform apply discounts. I'm sending this action. It got succeeded. So earlier we can see, right, 90, 475, 1200. So let's refresh the transaction and we applied discounts again. So you can see 90, 475 instead of 1200, it is 1245. So we got decrease in the 45 rupees discount, $45 discount, right? Rupees or dollars. So it got new final price. So now once we are done, so let's perform the submit action. So you got error right now, right? So it won't be there now. I'm performing send now. So now you can see 200 OK status. So there are no errors. Let's refresh the transaction. So now the transaction got submitted, and as there are no approvals, so that's why there are no approvals got triggered as well. Because why there are no approvals is we already built approvals in this transaction, but when we click submit action, if there are no reasons, submit action will get directly performed. If there are any active reasons, I mean, which are violating the conditions and something needs to be approved, then instead of submit, when we click submit from either CPQ or either from Postman, when we click submit and there are active reasons, it will automatically trigger request for approval instead of submit. So you can see max discount for these two first parts, approval is required. But when max discount, if it is got exceeded, max discount, max is 50, it's 10, max is 50, it's 25. So what we'll do is update pricing. So here you can see no approvals pending, right? So let's revise. I don't know the variable name of revise. Let's quickly check it. Revise underscore submit is the variable name. Let's revise the transaction. Sorry. Yeah, let's revise the transaction. So this is the new request. So I'm just changing the action variable name, revise underscore submit. I'm saving it. So now on the transaction, you can see it's revision number 1, right? Here, where is it? Yeah, here it's 1, right? Let's perform this action, revise. So it got succeeded. Let's refresh the transaction. Even though it is approved or submitted for approval, it's approved or rejected. So we can do revise based on our requirement. So now let's open the approvals tab. Here we can see the revision number as 2. If you observe earlier, it's 1. Now it's 2. So now let's update the parts info as first two we have validations, right? We have approvals, right? For this part we don't have approvals in the line item grid. I'm saying that based on this is approval required line. So for the first part, let's give 70. Max discount is 50, right? So this will violate it. And performing this update parts info. Yeah, it's done. So after, let's refresh it and see. So it's got 70. So after applying discounts, let's perform apply discounts. Send. It got succeeded. Earlier it is 90, right? Final price. Let's refresh the transaction. So you can see the final price is 30. So once we are done, we need to submit the quote. I'm performing send action. So it got succeeded. Let's before refreshing the code, let's see approvals. There is nothing, right? So let's revise it. Let's open the approvals tab. What happened? 70 discount. I'll perform the submit quote action. To test it, I'm just simply clicking manually the submit action. Okay. So it's coming now. I'll cancel it. I'll go back to Postman. The transaction number is still same. I'm performing send action again. Somehow it's not showing it. Let's refresh it. Yeah, if you observe, so once I refresh it, now I saw this action, right? So that's somehow it missed in the previous time. So because this is submit action, right? So we did. So it is asking a pop-up. When we click on the submit action on the quote as well, it will show this pop-up. So now once we do, because the last action is submit, it got refreshed here. So I'm clicking submit now. Test. So now I can see my reason. So when we perform submit action from the postman, if there are no active reasons, so it will submit it and it will take it to upload step. Only when we add step transaction, we don't add any step transaction now. So if we submit it, it will get submitted. If there are any no active reasons, if there are any active reasons, it will perform instead of submit request for approval action, and then it will show like this. So basing on this we can't do from the postman because this is a bit complicated. Like it's independent, it's dependent of whoever the approver will be there, right? He won't be performing the same tool and doing the things. So for these things we didn't implement it in the postman. So we leave it to the respective approver. He will approve it, then it will get submitted. I mean, once all the active reasons got submitted, if there are multiple reasons, multiple approvals, once everyone got approved, so then it will reach to submitted step. So that's how the whole flow. Revise where it will come is if you want to modify the flow and if you want to take it the flow the other time, the whole flow to the end. So then you need revise action and you need to perform whatever the actions you do, how you do in the CPQ, how you need to perform the request accordingly. So that is the whole flow. I can through Postman.